Good morning to you. Mark Stout with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. Welcome to Friday, 24th day of July 2020. And the tropics are very busy. We have Douglas, we have Hanna now, and of course we have Gonzalo. And we have another system that's going to develop. It looks like probably going to be the I storm, and I believe that is pronounced Isaias, something like that. And that's going to keep us busy going on into the first part of August. And then we have to get through all of August, all of September, all of October. Wow. We thought it was going to be a busy season. I guess here we go. So let's get right to it. Douglas in the Pacific. This is going to be a problem for Hawaii from the Big Island all the way through the rest of the chain here. Hilo, Honolulu, points in between, points west of there. It won't be long that we'll see a hurricane watch and tropical storm watch depending on the location, etc. Those will be posted. I've already seen some tweets regarding the state government of Hawaii being prepared and what they're going to be doing to get ready for this. If we look at the satellite animation here of the Pacific, I mean, who had this for this year? There's the Hawaiian Islands, by the way, but we're in this, well, it's not an El Nino. We're not quite in a La Nina either, but the Pacific is supposed to have a down year. And Hawaii is going to have a landfall of a tropical cyclone. It's going to happen. And it could be pretty significant, especially when the rainfall. We are usually not worried about hurricanes coming into Hawaii from the east and making a direct impact. They usually fall apart. It's like Aniki in 1992 that came in and turned from the south, roughly like that. That's when we get hurricane conditions, and it's usually for the western portion of the islands, but it's very, very difficult for these to approach from the east as hurricanes. Douglas will begin to weaken. I mean, the water temperatures out here near the Hawaiian chain are a little cooler than average, and they're not that warm to begin with anyway. I mean, they're 79, 80 degrees, sure, but we're not talking about a tremendous amount of deep upper oceanic heat content or anything like that. So real quick, I'll look at the Hawaiian Islands here. Honolulu is sitting over here on Oahu, and here's Hilo over here on the northeast side of the Big Island of Hawaii. And it's really important to understand how the rain bands and the structure will affect the area. Hawaii itself, lots of volcanic peaks over here, and these are made up. This whole island chain is here because of volcanoes, and so while some of the leeward sides of these islands may be flatter, especially over here on western portions of Oahu, I've been there personally a couple years ago for Hurricane Lane. The windward side, the wet side of these islands, that's where a tremendous amount of rain could fall depending on how these bands set up. So basically what it's going to come down to, folks, we're not going to know until this gets into radar range exactly what the impacts are going to be. We know there will be an increase in surf, and the surfers out there will love that. Just be careful. There will be heavy rain, but exactly where that rain sets up, we got to see what the structure looks like, what's left of Douglas as it moves in, and we just don't know that right now. But I urge you, if you live down near any of these streams, creeks, and rivers that flow out of the mountains there, be very mindful of this. If you know people that live in those areas, the flooding from this could be incredible, but it's very difficult to know right now because we don't know what the structure is going to be like as Douglas approaches. So just, take this very seriously if you're in the area. And again, my biggest concern is as this passes by and any rain bands rotate around on these leeward sides of these islands, what's left of the circulation, that's those areas that don't get that much rainfall usually because they're on the drier side, and that could be a really big problem, and we're just not going to know for some time to come, unfortunately. So we'll have to just keep monitoring it. Meanwhile, in the Gulf of Mexico, here is Hanna. It's a little bit farther to the north with the center. They say winds are still only 40 miles per hour. The pressure 1,001 millibars. This is the track heading into the area now south of Corpus Christi, and we're going to go over that in detail in just a moment. The rainfall threat is fairly substantial overall. You want to take this seriously. Heavy rain spreading inland here over South Texas. Luckily, Houston, Galveston, you don't have to worry about this much at all. A few onshore flow showers will come in. Yes, there will be an increase in moisture, but the heaviest rain will be heading down here along the Padre Island area, North and South Padre Island in terms of the Barrier Island region. And then the Rio Grande Valley will receive some rainfall. Anybody hoping for rain over here in West Texas, Central to West Texas, Linda, you know who you are. I'm talking to you. It's not going to happen with this system, I'm afraid. Sorry. Tried, but the problem is Hanna is going to kind of dive to the southwest as it comes in instead of coming in quickly in a west-northwest heading. And so that rainfall just isn't going to have a chance to spread farther to the west. I know Linda, one of our supporters, was looking forward to that, but no such luck. So let's swing back out on the Google map and swing back east over here. And let's talk about impacts a little bit. This is very, very important for a couple of reasons. So the center is forecast to make landfall. And we can look at the track map of it real quick. Let's go back so we can compare this. So the landfall area looking like south of Corpus Christi. Okay, so where is that exactly? Well, there's not much down there. Here's Corpus Christi and the Corpus Christi Bay. And this area right up here is where Harvey made landfall. So Hanna is forecast for the center to come in somewhere near here that I'm outlining. And there's just not much out there. So how lucky did I get that I'm not going? Because that's just like, I mean, you can't even get out to some of those barrier islands. There's more cows. And hey, the cat's talking. There's more cows. You can hear that. There's more cow. It would have been great if there had been a cow, but I don't have cows. Honestly, there's more cows than people once you get south of Kingsville, for the most part, especially down in Kennedy County. It's a beautiful area, but what would I have done? Put cameras all along Highway 77? I mean, this would have really been irritating to drive all that way and to be as tired as I would have been when I got there to see this happening. So, wow, what a break for me that I chose not to go, and here you go. That being said, those areas on the north side of the circulation where there is onshore flow up here, there will be some storm surge that'll pile into some of these bays. Not going to be very significant because, honestly, if we look at the satellite picture here of Hanna, it's getting organized, yeah, but it's still taking a long time to do so. Still has 24 hours to go, but it doesn't have that banding, well organized, like, oh boy, here we go, rapid intensification. That's not happening. It's got really good outflow. You can see that here, where the wind is coming out in a clockwise fashion. And then underneath that anticyclone in the upper levels, there is the cyclonic flow into the center right here. But for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is, the system is not rapidly strengthening. Probably because of the size of the envelope of energy. And that's where, if you've seen these tweets from Eric Webb comparing this to a West Pacific typhoon, would be accurate, that they take a while to ramp up, but when they do, those West Pacific typhoons, they become very powerful. Luckily, Hanna should run out of room over the warm Gulf before it can become typhoon-esque and really rapidly intensify. So that large circulation envelope takes a while to bundle that energy, and it's still just July here. Remember, it's only July 24th. It's not typical to see. The background state's just not that favorable yet. It's there, but kind of at the low end of there instead of the upper end of there in terms of where the background state is, where we have much more converging air at the surface, and just other factors. July 24th, you usually don't see powerful hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. Can happen, but it's not typical. Can this become a hurricane? Sure. And if it does so, it's going to do so in this window here right before landfall tomorrow, and we'll be watching that closely. But back to the map, you folks, Rockport and Portland, Aransas Pass, Port Aransas, and then Corpus Christi in that area, Corpus Christi Bay, any of that onshore flow, yes, that could bring some surge, but because it is not very well organized just yet, I'm not too concerned about it. And let's look at the public advisory real quick on Hanna. This area right here, this is your best friend. You want to know what's going to happen? I mean, look, this is a huge, huge clue. And another reason that I'm glad I'm not going. The words storm surge are not even mentioned in the hazards affecting land. It's not because they forgot. It's because storm surge is not going to be a really big problem. Surf, swells generated, yes. Rainfall, yeah, 4 to 8 inches, maybe some areas 10 inches or so we'll see. And then wind up to tropical storm strength, but no storm surge yet forecast. It's coming. I'm sure they're going to add it in there, because once this structure and everything else gets resolved, we'll get to see what the storm surge will be, and the slosh model and all that they run to predict that will happen. And that's eventually going to get put into this hazards affecting land text area. And by the way, please read this, because this tells you what to expect. When I go to one of these, this is what I look for. Okay, when I get there and I'm going to set up my cameras and my weather stations, what are the hazards? Well, here you go. All right, moving on along to Gonzalo. Oops, don't need to do that. That's the home that I was looking for. So here's Gonzalo, the track for it. Still forecast to become a hurricane as it comes in south of Barbados, probably. And the modeling has been trending a little bit more south. So, you know, whether it goes right over Barbados, close enough to it, who knows. Let's zoom out, zoom over, and take a look at this part of the world in just a moment. All right, we got this set up. Now, get rid of Hanna, or sorry, that's Douglas. There. All right, here we go. So here's Gonzalo down in the right-hand corner of the screen, still kind of disheveled looking. And here's a close-up of Hanna. There's Doug. Come on, Mark. Gonzalo. Just imagine. We still have all of August, September, October. Anyway, seriously. So here's Gonzalo. And just had to take a breath and catch my thoughts. Not as organized as you would, expect to see something that's forecast to be a hurricane, but it is holding its own, got some deep convection in there. By the way, there's Barbados right there, and this is 10 degrees north latitude that it's trying to get north of, but it's not doing so just yet. So yes, you folks, back to the Google Maps, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, and then down here Trinidad and Tobago, this whole region, the envelope of energy as it comes through. Remember, Gonzalo is not a point on a map. Gonzalo is all of this. So all of this weather, showers, thunderstorms, gusty winds, you name it, that'll be moving in. Just a reminder of this, even though the forecast point for the center may not go right over Trinidad and Tobago, you could still see some rainfall from it. Maybe the center does not go right over Barbados, but you could still be on that north side of it, and, depending on how the convection is, just remember that. Please, please keep that in mind as we focus on any of these systems. It's not entirely about where the center goes in, unless it's a very intense hurricane with a well-defined core. That's a different animal. Otherwise, look at the big picture. What are the wind impacts? What will be the rain impacts? Any surge, that kind of thing. Where do I live in relation to how these impacts can affect me? That's how I want you to think about this. And there will be some impacts in the Windward Islands for our friends. Trinidad, Tobago, points north, maybe as far north as Martinique, but I doubt it. All right? So we'll be watching this as well. The countdown is on for all three systems. It's amazing. Douglas and Hanna and Gonzalo all going to make landfall somewhere at almost the same time, roughly within a few days of each other. That's pretty remarkable. All right, real quick, a look at the GFS here. Kind of strange that it's not doing much with Hanna. This is the 6Z run. You see it coming in down there in Texas. It's kind of weird the way it does with the low pressure center. And this really, again, solidifies how happy I am that I didn't go. That's not too far north of Brownsville. I mean, Brownsville's tucked away right down here, granted, but that's solid into Kennedy County, you know, in the Padre Island region. And the GFS really doesn't do much with it. Don't know why. I've seen people asking about that. I mean, we're only talking about 36 hours from now. You know, this is on the coast down there, and what's the GFS not seeing? I don't know. But it really does not do much with it. It continues on inland. The map we're looking at shows your precip pattern overall, and it dives in across the Rio Grande there. And you see what happens. It definitely brings in some moisture. And it just, unfortunately, again, to my friend Linda out here in West Texas, nope, not much precip coming your way, sorry to say. All right, so the Euro, a different vantage point. This is the 850 millibar level. There's Hanna. Here's Gonzalo coming in. This is last night's Euro. And this is every 24 hours, so if we fast forward it, there is Hanna approaching the coast, and then it dives in as it intensifies. And the Euro may be overdoing it, the GFS underdoing it. This will be really interesting to see, for sure. And you notice, too, what happens with Gonzalo. It comes in well south of Barbados, which is right there. So not far from Trinidad Tobago region, and not really doing much with it. The Euro with Gonzalo takes the vortmax, the energy of Hanna, deep into Mexico. There's what's left over of Gonzalo dying out in the Caribbean, this gauntlet through here. Very difficult for storms to survive. A lot of that is because of Hispaniola and the heat low and the energy that sits over northern South America. It's just a strange area for systems to develop. Now, one thing I want to look at is the future real quick. And then we're going to talk about my plans for the day in the next few days. Then we'll go and I'll go about my day. The next week to 10 days is probably going to be filled with a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. We have the pandemic going on. We got Douglas. We got Hanna. We got Gonzalo coming. And now this system that the Euro especially is forecasting to develop. And the Hurricane Center outlining that. We've seen that in the Tropical Weather Outlook. This is it. Okay, we saw this coming. Just try to stay focused. Try to avoid the noise. You're going to see people posting probably 10-day operational runs of a hurricane sitting somewhere. And that's the next one that I'm talking about. Try to ignore that, you know, and people blowing things out of proportion, and stay focused on you and your area and how you can deal with things and how you're going to deal with things, rather than what everybody else is saying. We already have enough going on to drive you batty. And hurricanes are something, again, that I've said before, even a few months ago when this whole pandemic thing started. At least we are familiar with hurricanes. Let's use that experience to our advantage and not lose our heads over everything that's going to happen going forward. Yes, it's going to be busy, but instead of being upset about it, which doesn't help you, let's be mindful, aware, and intelligent, and use our experience to help us. And I'm certainly going to do that. I've been doing this for 25 years. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, for Pete's sakes. We could get a major hurricane up here before it's all is said and done. I know that. Am I worried about it? No. What good would that do? Worrying is not going to be the solution here. Being aware and staying, keeping your cool will. So that being said, this is the Euro. This is last night's run. And we know our players here. There's Hanna. We'll put an H there. Here's Gonzalo, a G there. And here's our next tropical wave, a T for that one, coming off Africa as we speak. 24 hours out. So this will be valid tonight. So Friday night here, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. We're now 5 days out. And yes, this starts to develop east of the islands. Big ridge of high pressure out here. Another envelope of energy trying to come off. Another one over Africa. It's going to be busy. We go out to day 6. day 7 into the Caribbean. We'll see. The bottom line, look at it this way. We have this advanced warning that something may be coming. Maybe it doesn't, but at least we know about it. So don't freak out and start biting all your nails off. Okay, look at this and say, okay, I have several days to prepare. I try to be a glass half full guy until you can't. You know what I mean? Just real quick, a little analogy or whatever you want to call it, a story. There was a Star Wars movie called Rogue One, and it's one of my favorites. And the girl in there, remember Jyn Erso, that was going to go and help steal the Death Star plans, the main character. She's trying to rally the troops, and she talks about all the odds of them going up against the Empire to do all of this. And she said, we basically just take it one chance at a time. We do one thing at a time until we run out of chances. So we stay optimistic until we see something that there really isn't any optimism about. And that's a very powerful hurricane on your doorstep. And just like that movie, hope is not a planning tool, but hope in their case was how they dealt with rebellions, and hope in our case will get us through, but it's not the best thing in terms of planning. Planning is how you deal with it, and that's what they did in that movie. And you know what happened in episode 4? They blew up the Death Star, and they all won, so to speak, and whatever. But my point is, being optimistic is the way to go here. We see what's coming, and that's about all. I'm going to use my experience to help you. I'm going to keep coming back to that, and we'll take it one day at a time and keep going and use all our chances until our chances are used up. And hopefully that won't happen. We'll see. So look, I'm glad I'm not going to Texas. I'll say that again. And I'm glad, because I would have been pretty upset about that. So instead, I'm heading out here to Arizona, where the monsoon threat is moderate today. In the next few days, low. But it's very fascinating out here. We've got the flash flood watch up already for southeastern Arizona. I'm going to take several of my GoPro cameras. I've got these new 360 cameras that our crowdfunding partners have supported me to get. They've actually purchased them for us. I say us because in the end it benefits all of us. So I'm going to head out there, actually get on the plane here in about 2 hours. The monsoon is a big deal. I like studying it, the geomorphology of the area, the hydrology, the meteorology, the geography. It's fascinating. And I'll be out there until Monday. I'll be home Monday night. All along, I'll have the laptop and I'll give you more Star Wars story metaphors and analogies as we get through this. But seriously, I'll be out there. I'll stream live when I can. And we'll see what happens. Could be an interesting day. Yesterday there was some flash flooding. That guy Mike Olbinski? Mike out there? Olbinski, I think that's how you say his name. He got some good video of one of those dry arroyos, those dry riverbeds filling up with flooding. Maybe I get some lightning pictures tonight. But seriously, I do want to take my 360 cam, this GoPro Max, if we get some flash flooding, and position it to where we can see that in full 360. That would be amazing. And a lot of this is helping to test for what we're going to be doing when the hurricanes come as well. It's not like I'm going on vacation. I'm going out there. This is weather related, and it is supported by these folks. I couldn't do it without them, so thank you very much. And I'm glad I'm not going to Texas. I'll say it again. Oh my goodness. I would have woken up today probably in Mississippi and been like, I still have to drive all the way to South Texas today, and I wouldn't even be able to get out to the beaches. Whatever. It is what it is. So I made the right call. You guys make the right call too, okay? One more little lecture from Dad, and then I'll let you go. Take the preparedness stuff seriously right now. Make sure you got extra gas cans, you got your plans in place, you know where your insurance papers are, your car's in good working order. Do all those things now if you live anywhere in the Atlantic Basin or in Hawaii, all right? Or Mexico. Because what's coming, the time will eventually run out. And we will be serious about that. No stories, no metaphors. When the time runs out, it runs out. So use the time we have now and get those things done that you should have been doing already. All right? Seriously, use the weekend to do that, and that's my advice to you. All right, I'm done. I got to get ready and head over to the airport in about an hour and fly out to Phoenix. As always, thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate it. I'll be posting updates along the way. Best place to follow while I'm doing that will be on Twitter, and I'll have an update for you here on YouTube tomorrow, like I do every day. All right? Have a good rest of your Friday. Thanks for watching. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll talk to you as I'm out west tackling the monsoon.